Hello everyone, welcome to Saturday, July the 30th chart review. In this review, I'm just going to jump in and dive into NASDAQ quickly, a couple of Forex picks, and oil, XTI USD specifically. Alright, getting into it now. In this particular NASDAQ chart that I have run up, alright, it seems to be a little out of whack, but I closed it down and my boxes didn't save, so I have to redo that a little bit. Not a big deal. So let's just get this part over with here. That's the latest one of the gap that was closed. Right. So as you see, this gap itself, it looked like it was closed over the course of NASDAQ itself being shut down, right? I mean, it is past the trading hours. So we're going to count this spot right here as the gap close. Here, let me just pop in on that time frame. Hopefully that's long enough. Yeah. All right, so now we're going to draw it from here to here and delete the red. And blue, ultimately gap is closed. Fantastic. All right, so I'll fill in the rest a little later on. But we did have another gap that was formed down there. So what we have going on right now is this. This is the space that we are missing to that particular spot where I was expecting a large pullback. And judging from where we're at after Friday, right, little move up on Friday, we are still about 563, let's say 567 points away from closing off that gap. All right, so what that looks like here is this. This is just my long, my daily time frame, kind of like long-term plan, I guess, for this. So I drew this spot up a long time ago. As you can see, it was even on that candle. So it's a little bit further out. Not a big deal. This is probably just going to happen a couple days later. So it's just been a slow drag until finally we had 3 strong days last week. So again, target area was about here. I think my target area here is about 700 and change. Yeah. So if we're looking at that, it's about 750. But that's basically because of the Fibonacci retracement and volume built up that's been around there, right? So those are that particular spot. It's nothing to do with any gaps that need to be closed. Okay, it's very close to what I had before. So I'm expecting around 13,500. That's going to be the zone to watch out for any long-term reversals. As you can see where I drew number 5 for that Elliott wave retracement area, right? It's going to go deep. It's probably going to break past the 10,000 mark on NASDAQ. So if we're looking at right here, the actual index, IXIC, we're looking to get around that 9,500, 9,600 mark around here, all right, to shut that down. And then after that, I believe that's when we're going to start the road to recovery. So one more deep push into that territory. It's July right now. If we hit this target sometime next week, then I predict for the next month and a half to 2 months, we will be dropping pretty significantly, right? So you can imagine just when it peaked up right here, it took, what is that, 43 days for it to drop, right? So maybe 51 days. I was thinking about this area right here, 43, the first original point. If we're going to the ultimate low, let's say 51 days, that would mean once we get to that part, we're looking at middle to end of September to hit that deep retracement point before we start recovery. And that would kind of make sense. You know, summer's over. It is very likely that this is going to push down kind of at the beginning of September. We're going to see quite possibly over 3,000 points in NASDAQ drop in the span of a few weeks, right? And just to give an example of how that happened before, this was the peak, this was the bottom. It took 27 days to drop nearly 3,000 points, right? So that is about a month. I mean, it happened even steeper right here. We're talking May 5th to May 12th, right? 7 days, it dropped 1,800, almost 1,900 points. So, I mean, it does happen. It is unfortunate. Or here's another one for the span of three days, 1,500 points in, it says 5 days, but I mean, it was, if we take a look at that, it was June 9th, 10th, and 13th, right? So it was the weekend in between there. So yeah, that is my long-term prediction on NASDAQ. This is what I believe will be happening over the next few days, hitting this part and then dropping probably till the end of September back down to the 10,000 range. Okay, and now let's take a look at Forex pairs. Hopefully this all saved, but it doesn't look like it did. It has all my old drawings up, so that's a bit unfortunate. Must have had a power outage, so all my charts are kind of wiped out. So let's see if I remember what I drew up here initially. So that's done. Okay, this is what I predicted to happen around here. It was a double top, I believe, from there on the daily. If we drop it on the 4-hour, somewhere around this area, that small pullback, there's an institutional in there. Right, you can see the supply zone, the green and red engulfing candle afterwards. So we take that, we grab the, you can see it's almost on that white line, so that's almost irrelevant to draw another one. So just below that, we take this, I would probably, 45, 50 pips, let's say, pretty comfortable stop loss, and drop it down to its previous low. Very likely it'll hit this yellow line before continuing, before having a bit of a pullback. All right, and yeah, we are kind of in the fib zone right now. So if we take it from that high, grab it to this low right here, you can see we're hanging around that golden zone. So one of two things can happen, right? On the 4-hour, if I see a EMA shift going down, that's when I will enter the buy with the top of the highest part before that candle being the stop loss. Otherwise, my target of entry is here if there is no EMA shift. It'll be around that area, this candle pattern. All right, so that's AUD USD. I would say maybe midweek this will either play out the way it's supposed to. Okay, so now jumping in on Euro USD. This one I had drawn up previous week, so let me just take a look to load it. 23rd. I think I had it drawn up last week or 2 weeks ago, but either way, it should still be here. No, it would be the other one, 16th. Let's see, Euro USD. There we go. Okay. So this is the one I had drawn up a few weeks ago. It's still taken a little while for it to actually come up to entry. As you can see, it's just been going sideways for almost 2 weeks, right? Very good possibility that this is going to happen exactly as NASDAQ. Once the US dollar starts gaining strength, the NASDAQ itself, the stocks, will start to fall. So, yeah, it's a pretty good target from where it's at right now. I wouldn't put it past gaining another 160 pips before dropping lower. So I'm going to keep it the way it is. You know, I like where it's sitting at right now. Just been consolidating, but a very good point of reference for it to kind of, you know, hit the entry level there. There's several indicators showing me the imbalance needs to be filled. It's going to be within the fib zone. Thank you for telling me it's midnight, my phone. All right, so there's lots of issues surrounding this entry area, so that's why I kind of prefer it. And again, 60 pip stop loss. That's just, what is it, top of the candle, I believe? Just at the top of the candle, not at the wick yet. So 70 pips would be kind of the most secure, but I truly don't think we're going to be hitting that zone once again. So 60 pips is what I'm going to enter with. All right, GBP AUD, so that's continuing to go as the entry was on July 26th, so it's looking pretty good. And again, I did expect this to pop in a little bit lower, but again, I drew this up on the 23rd, right? So I did it based on this candle pattern here, and sure enough, it wicked off kind of the center area, a little bit higher actually, but either way, this was still looking pretty good. About 2 weeks ago, let's pop into the current charts just to see where I'm at with this right now. So entry was right there. Now, if that original entry was missed, the target would be around, where do I have it set up? 175,608. Let's see where I have here. Yeah, so if the EMA was going to shift prior to that, this is where my exit would have been. This I drew up previous, but I think if this has already been entered, I'll probably do it maybe at the top of the white EMA line there, and it would make sense with the rest of these retracements. So yeah, if you're not in that trade already, this would be a nice entry zone going for a sell. I mean, 38 or 40 pip stop loss is going to be rather reasonable. That just fills this gap, and the only thing to be careful of is that supply zone that's there with the wicks, right? So 60 pips for a 4-to-1 ratio be the safest, but you know, it's possible to try it at a 40 pip stop loss for a 6-to-1 at this one as well. So yeah, GBP CAD, what we're looking at here, what did I have here? Similar setup to what I had before off the fib, right? Just off there to the lowest point, and entry would be around this area. So you can see the long fib channel coming to a same point of that 618 retracement. I would take it. Let's see, let's drop on the 6-hour what that looks like. Just a small little imbalance right there. I would take it right to the top of that. So 60 pip stop loss, pretty reasonable for this. And target right where it was at before. Now, the only reason I do that is because CAD in the long term, it's going to be showing a lot of strength. So, you know, for a few weeks, this would be a very reasonable stop loss or take profit to have. However, if there is no EMA shift on the 4-hour and it's around this area, then I would continue to let it run. Okay, so there's that. And then let's see, NZD USD, I believe I had this one drawn up previously. Let me just double check. NZD USD. No, it must be on another chart. Either way, like I said before, it didn't save, so it's unfortunate on what I get to deal with here. But I can't remember honestly what I had drawn up, so I'm going to have to leave that one alone. USD CHF. So this was the previous chart setup that I had. It's come to hit that spot once again. It's kind of gotten a double bottom. One from June 29th and again at July 28th, so a month apart with the double bottom. It's looking pretty good actually for it to start climbing. The only thing is that, you know, big engulfing candle pattern right here is going to show that it's going to go a little bit lower. I believe that it will probably get right into the center of that box before rejecting and pushing forward, or upward, I mean. The reason being, again, is if you've seen the other USD pairs, right, even Euro USD, it's still got a little bit of ways to go up before dropping. USD CHF would be no stranger to that, right? I would assume that this would drop a little bit more, maybe down to here. Let's check the daily. Right, so you can see double top right there, double bottom right here, so very likely that it is going to continue going upwards. But the exact entry, I would say, you know what, it wouldn't be such a bad idea from there. But because, again, there's no specific point to lock into, EMA shift on the 4 hour is going to be the safe bet here. Right, so it's going to look something like this. If EMA shifts, probably be around there. Switch it over to the 4 hour, right? So it'll keep dropping a little bit more. So let's see, maybe just even to there. Stop loss right there. So this is going to be a pretty deep trade. 146 pips is a little too much, even for my blood. So right there, 70, 68, something like that. And, you know, even setting it right here as a buy stop, it's not such a bad idea. By that point, it should be reversing, going upwards, right? But wait for EMA shift. That is the safest thing to do. As you can see on the 4 hour, every time there's an EMA shift, it's quite a long run, okay? And, you know, EMA shift upwards, you could see that it didn't cross until way up here. So even if you just play EMA shifts, right, and have, where was it? Right there. Okay, so we'll go off this zone. And if you had, let's see, 60 pip stop loss, it's pretty reasonable. Never came back down that low. But a possible, and if the EMA shift right there, about 191 pip gain over the span of 2 weeks. I mean, not fantastic, but it still wins, right? But all I'm trying to get at is EMA shifts on the 4 hour are almost guaranteed wins, right? Once you watch for them, you set your proper stop loss. You have nothing really to worry about. See right here, look, first EMA shift. This is going to be the one issue where it dropped, what was it, 47 pips, but it also pulled back about 25. So that's why if you do between, you know, 50, 60 pip stop loss, it's very reasonable to continue on with those gains, right? And again, from that area, dropping all the way down until it shifted again, it's about 350, 360 pip win over the span of 14 days. So it is entirely possible. But that is what I recommend waiting on first, is that EMA shift. And finally, XTI USD, so oil. This one has been teetering for quite some time, actually, and it's taken a little while for my charts to load. I apologize for that. Shouldn't have much slowdowns here. But anyway, so kind of the head and shoulder pattern, but a reversal going upwards. It's been quite a unique day on Friday. It was starting to go up and then it dropped pretty hard, right? So it was a bit awkward to be able to take some trades off that, especially because, you know, oil moves quickly, right? Sometimes I could have big spikes and then hover around for an hour and more spikes that occur. But yeah, I believe oil is going to be primed for a very nice move upward, a steady move upward. Just looking to get into that perfect entry, right? And actually, a very good entry was earlier on in the week. It would have been right here off of support zone, right? It broke through right there where the head is, but you could see the shoulders are around the same area. So that would have been a very nice entry right off there once again. At this point in time, there is no EMA shift, but you would need to have a very large stop loss, right? So something like 2,200, so 221 points off oil. I mean, that's deep, right? I wouldn't be very comfortable taking that large of a trade off of this. So just play it by ear. I'm sure something good will form within the next few days in order to be able to judge a proper entry. But right now, you know, volume is down here. So if it does pull down to the bottom there, entry around volume would make a lot of sense because I doubt it's going to go any deeper than that based off of where it's been. Okay, and then yeah, about 1,000 points I would say would be a very reasonable goal to set for a stop loss, and then this can just go on to 130 even. 126 was a previous high. So it's entirely possible that this will run up. It will all depend on the strength of the US dollar as well compared to oil and whatever else happens, but this is what I predict in the long term. Okay, short term as far as entry goes, somewhere around there would make the most sense, about 94, right? So if we're talking US oil, it would be, yeah, I guess where that green line is kind of a perfect setup, so 97.18, right? Something around there. That'll be a good area for entry. All right, so again, picks for the week, I would say AUD USD, Euro USD, GBP AUD, GBP CAD. Okay, did I drop GBP AUD? Yes, I did. Okay, so those are my 4 picks for the week. You know, I'm not going to overstep. I'm going to pick the ones that I find to be most, what's the word I'm looking for? Most reasonable, I guess, or the ones that look better than the others. It'll just depend on the sharp movements. GBP pairs I'm not a huge fan of. They tend to go a little slower. So I might focus on Euro USD and AUD USD. Anyway, that's just my personal preference. So, hope that helped, and I'll see you guys next week.